Guys, welcome back to the very first episode of the Authentic Me podcast. My name is Mel Yu and I am your host. This podcast was a project that I started in COVID in 2020 when I just came out of a pretty bad breakup and I had just turned 30 and I moved back home because I didn't have a job and my partner at the time was funding all of my lifestyle. And it started in the bedroom of my parents' house. And I opened up with those few episodes around what authenticity meant. And authenticity to me always meant the real, the raw, the ugly, but the truth. And the second episode that I talked about was about breakups. And so I feel like it only makes sense that I come back on and start season 3 after a massive break because business got busy and life got lifing to really share what had happened and what has been going on for the past year. For the past year, I have worked with grace. I have stayed silent. I have processed a lot of hurt, a lot of emotion, and I didn't want to come out and share the story. But now I think it's really important that I share my truth, that I share some of the life lessons that I went through so that if any of you guys are listening that is going through a heartbreak, something really that you're really struggling with right now, challenges or something that you know too, that this too shall pass and it will be okay. I was in a relationship for the better of nearly 3 years and starting a business with a business partner and had grown the team to 6-7 staff at the time. I was then also partnering up and building a gym franchise, and we had just started and completely rebranded that. I remember on the Friday at the office when I don't normally check Instagram requests. I don't normally check Instagram messages. And I checked the little request and a message had popped up that revealed that my partner was cheating on me. I remember the tightening of my entire nervous system and my chest, even as I say it now, like I just remember that message and that moment that my life was just about to crumble upside down. And so what do you do first? Of course, you call your partner to fact check and make sure that that message is not true. And when I called him, there was complete denial. And this was the earliest onset of me recognizing that I was about to get incredibly gaslit and that I had maybe been dating some form of a narcissist or someone that was no longer who he said he was being. When you aren't in your true authenticity, no matter the time or the distance, your mask will eventually come off. When you are not stepping in your true authenticity, the universe, or it's exhausting when you're not being you. So no matter how long, even if it's 2 years, even if it's 3 years, eventually you cannot sustain that and your mask will come off. And so that was the beginning of my perfect little life being just not so perfect. Like I had gone through stuff, I had lived through stuff, I've talked about it on this podcast and this platform, but it was a moment where I was like, the business is running, I've got a great partner, a great relationship, we're about to open a gym together. Everything was just like tick, 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 tick. But you know, the universe knows better. And they say when humans plan, God laughs. And that is something that I just truly believe in now, that when these things happen, I do have to laugh about it. But in that moment, I was so incredibly uncertain and unsure of what my life had just become. And listening to my partner reassure me that it was not true and that these affairs had not happened and that the cheating had not occurred, it really put a spanner in the works of my friendship groups, of just what our realities were, our families, everything was shattered. And the reality is I chose to believe him. The reality is that I thought that love was something that love is easy to love when it's easy. But when you go through actual hard times, that's when you got to really show that love and resilience is part of your character. And so I chose to believe him. I chose to believe that the truth was a lie. And eventually, though, the truth always ends up coming out. And so as I was trying to work through the relationship, trying to navigate it, what I recognized was that my own level of self-love and self-respect was getting diminished, that to take someone back that had completely betrayed your trust, that's one thing. But to then continue to do that and almost deny yourself of what love and respect you have for yourself is another thing. And as we kind of tried to work through the relationship, I still decided that I wanted to move out. And so that was already happening, that I was going to move out, he was going to move out, but we were still going to work through this relationship. We were still going to work through whatever problems and struggles that we had. And it was about 2-3 weeks after all of this had unfolded that he helped me move into my place. He helped me move my belongings in. And we had one of those intimate moments where when you haven't been with someone but you've for so long and they've been your person for the better of 3 years and you want to believe that that person still loves and cares for you because you haven't been dating someone that hasn't said who's not who they said they were, you melt and you fold and you take people back. And I remember that night that he stayed over after I just moved into my new place. And the Saturday morning, he got up and he had to leave. And when you haven't seen someone for 2-3 weeks and you're just going through this breakup, but you're begging for them to come back into your life, or you're begging for them that you are their love of their life, do you leave them on the Saturday morning and just disappear and ghost them? So that was already like a big red flag for me. And my nervous system was telling me so. And so that person left on Saturday and then disappeared. And I had no touch points, no messages, nothing. Then Sunday morning at like 2 a.m., I got like a good night message and a miss you message. And I was like, nah, that is not okay. We've just been together for 3 years. We've broken up. Our relationship's already so incredibly rocky because there's a lack of trust here. And that should have been an early sign. But again, I'm telling you this from a place of if anyone's ever taken back someone that's abused their trust, like I see you, because I never thought I would. I never thought that I would succumb to my own boundaries and my own level of respect. But I think that's what love sometimes does. And when you choose to believe good in people, when you are a good person, you believe everyone around you is good. And that if you wouldn't cheat, you just believe that no one else around you cheats. And the Monday came along and he had written this whole thing about, I had stood my ground on, no, you need to have a point of contact. You need to communicate around things, especially after we just had an intimate night. And he mentioned that he was like journaling and doing all this stuff and it was just really, really tough for him. And I was like, okay, you go sort your stuff out. I'm going to continue to carry on with my life. The bombshell I think that hit is that on Monday, I was driving and again, for some reason, I chose to check my request messages. And on my social media requests came a DM. And this was from a girl. And she had messaged me saying, although my time with him was not as long as yours, I just want you to know that it's not your fault. And he's the one that has manipulated and dragged on all of this stuff. And I was like, excuse me, what do you mean by, although my time with him was not as long as yours? And she explained that they had been dating and seeing each other the last 2 weeks. Like the last 2 weeks that we had broken up, he was already in another relationship. And now this is not a podcast episode to antagonize that person. This is a podcast episode around how I navigate through this turmoil and this emotional relationship. So I just want to set that intention. And I'm like, 2 weeks? We've barely even been broken up for 3. How have you been in a relationship? And so that really then got me spiraling and understanding that when someone shows you who they are, believe them. When someone tells you who they are and they reveal their character, believe them. And that was where I really came back and stood my ground. But when I talk about heartbreak and I talk about my fair share of going through hard things, nothing beats that moment when I lost Angus to suicide, that hurt. That was gut-wrenching. But finding out that my partner of 3 years was cheating on me was a complete betrayal of trust that I had never experienced or felt. And then that took me on a journey of just a real self-identity. My friendship group shattered. People that I was thinking that would support me for so long and be part of it was not able to hold that space. People stopped inviting me to things because I no longer had a partner. And it was this real self-introspection time. And I call the end of 2024 a year where I really purged. I purged my business, I let go of friendship groups, and I really had to learn to find love and self-love back with myself. And so how did I get through that? There have been turning points. The reality is you have survived 100% of your bad days. And when I believe that, when I've survived 100% of my bad days, I know that this too shall pass and I'll get through it. Although it was absolutely antagonizing and grueling and the most painful season that I had ever been with. I had to seek mentors. I had to seek podcasts that were talking about breakup, and I had to find ways that I was able to build my identity again as just Mel and just being single and enjoying my own company. And a lot of people might tell you to get back on the horse and go start dating or go find the apps, but I actually feel that you need to rediscover yourself and enjoy your own company and get to know you more. And so that was a period that I fully went all in on self-love. I started dating myself. I gave myself a challenge of taking myself on solo dates. And when I say solo dates, I mean getting dressed up, booking a 3-course restaurant, and really enjoying your company with a glass of wine in hand and no one else sitting opposite you. If you've never done that, I highly recommend that you challenge yourself to do that, whether it's taking yourself out on a movie or going out on a date without a laptop or a phone, but really being present. And so it was during this season of self-discovery and dating myself that I really started to find my energy and aura again. I booked overseas trips for myself. This year I went solo to Egypt and then to Greece for 3 weeks and really started to own that type of magnetism, because the Mel Yu, the person underneath, that core, strong, resilient person, that authentic person, she was always there. But it's also important that when you go through something really challenging, like a real heartbreak and loss of relationships, that you honor that season as well, because that season is what's preparing you for the breakthrough. That breakup isn't going to break you, it's going to prepare you for the breakthrough. And I'm sitting here over a year and a half later sharing that story for the first time, is because I am healed and I am happy and I have a amazing partner who, honestly, now I look back and go, was it all worth it? And I say absolutely 110%, because it led me to him. But between that partner and this partner, I didn't date. I just didn't date for 9 months. I was on a solo journey and a solo adventure because I knew that my values was that I wanted to date to find my husband. And my values were I wanted to date to find my forever person, or someone that's just going to really be congruent and aligned with my life. And I'm really, really proud of myself for being able to honor that season, and really proud of myself that I stuck to my core belief, because it was only then when I became her, the woman of integrity, the woman with authenticity, the woman that chose to love herself and look in the mirror and go, I'm a high value woman. I know what's at stake here. And so only low value men need to go and find other things to entertain them. And so if I just stay the course, build my business, build my brand, continue doing the things that I love doing and enjoy doing and doing things for me, eventually I would attract that person. And that person has now entered my life. But I always say, like, how we were just doing life individually and going through our own relationships. But then finally the universe was like, hey, here you go. Collide together now. Now is the time for you to meet. So I feel super, super blessed to be able to share this with you guys as my very first episode back. And just to remind you all that there is always a turning point. And if you were to close that book too soon, you lose out on all of the growth and the journey and the gut-wrenching heart pain that makes you the compassionate, empowered, empathetic person that you are. And so when we look at our struggles and our challenges, honor that season, because that season is just as important as the one where you're celebrating success and it's all roses and butterflies and sunshine. And so welcoming you guys back to the Authentic Me episode. I hope you got a few little insights and takeaway from this little share, and I look forward to sharing with you more, and I'll see you on the next one.